This party started. Let us begin this Hatchet reunion spectacular. I can't believe next year the first movie turns 20. This feels like, I thought this was a new franchise for a while, but no, it's 20 years old almost. Let us bring up the creator of Hatchet first, Adam Green. Let's bring up our Mary Beth Danielle Harris. We actually have like a kind of a last minute surprise guest in Joel Murray from 1 and 2. Kane Hodder.
We can share.
Yes, and our makeup guru, Robert Pentagraft, is here as well.
Robert's the one who did the jaw rip that we just ended with. That was him.
Hold on, can you guys pull a chair from out there? I don't know how to count, apparently. There we go. Okay. Before we dive into the creation of this character and this franchise, can we just, those of you who worked with Tony Todd in some respect, can you just give us, because he's an integral part of these movies, and one of the only people who's, I believe, in all of them in some capacity, sort of, yeah.
3 of them, yes.
Yeah. Can you go elsewhere? Come on, Robbie. Come on. Robert England, everyone. And Adam.
No one's even heard of him.
Adam. Robert is Victor Crowley's first victim, correct?
Right. Yes.
That's kind of cool.
Let's share like some little few stories about Tony though, because he, I love seeing him in this. I think he's wonderful in this. Just talk about him.
Okay. One of my favorite Tony Todd stories that's involved with Hatchet. So when I spoke to him about doing the first one, and I'm explaining the character, he's like, "This sounds like a cameo," and I'm like, "No." I'm like, Reverend Zombie is integral to the whole story, and he's the lead of the sequel. And he just laughed. He goes, "Sequel?" Because again, I never made a movie before, and I'm like, "No, there's going to be at least 3 of them." Like, I don't know. And so when it comes time for the sequel, and as you know, if you've seen the film, Reverend Zombie tries to act like he's got some sort of magical powers and he's just a big fraud. So he calls me. Tony wasn't a big sleeper. Like, I used to be an insomniac, so the calls would always be really late at night. And I pick up the phone and it's like, "Adam, does Reverend Zombie know magic?" And I go, "No, he tries to act like he does, but he doesn't really know magic." And he goes, I think he should know magic. And I'm like, no, I don't think it would work. And then he goes, can Reverend Zombie think he knows magic? And I'm like, sure. But the stuff that he would do where he would start doing this, thinking, and the like, that was all him. Also his makeup, the diamond around his eye, that was his idea when he got to set. And one of my favorite things about Tony that I don't think I've ever seen any other actor do is if you're lucky enough to have any rehearsal time, he will try everything. Whether it's stupid, whether it's not, any prop that's on the table, he'll pick it up, he'll do stuff. But I knew it from doing the Hatchet movies, but when he cameoed on Holliston in the Candyman episode, at rehearsal, and he's grabbing everything in the kitchen, everything that wasn't strapped down in rehearsal, the cast was like, what is he doing? I'm like, it's his process, just wait. But he finds it, but he loved acting so much. He loved every bit of it, every bit of the process. And it's really sad that he's gone.
Anybody else? I didn't know if anybody else.
I've known Tony for many, many years, and I was fortunate enough, besides, Hatchet, I did his last starring role film called The Activated Man. It was, fuck, you got me going now.
Usually Hatchet panels are all dick jokes and stuff.
Anyway, Tony was a great guy, and we all loved him. He was tremendous to work with, and The Activated Man was his last starring role. Final Destination was his last job, I guess, but I was so happy to do The Activated Man with him because it's his movie and I'm just a supporting character in it, but he was having issues with his health and stuff, but it was just, I feel honored to have done his last major role with him, and we miss him, and it sucks to be in this business and work with people that you love and you lose them.
Sorry, there's one more thing. In Hatchet 2, when Reverend Zombie, because in Hatchet 1, we get the campfire tale of Victor Crowley, the quick version. But in Hatchet 2, he tells the real story about who was responsible for his death, and that's where he gets the idea, well, if one of them's already dead, then if I can get the other two killed, the ghost will have had his vengeance, and I can control the swamp. And there's this moment where he tells Danielle the real story. And when we recorded that in the fake voodoo shop, the whole crew just laid on the floor with their eyes closed and listened to him tell the story with that voice. Like, it was just this beautiful moment. But then watching Tony and Danielle, when he's explaining to her, your father was responsible for all this, and it wasn't like written that there would be tears, but because Danielle started tearing up, Tony started tearing up, and you're watching these two great actors have this moment, this monologue thing, and it's like, this is gonna sound terrible, it's almost too good for a Hatchet movie. Because that was like one take, because we had a camera on each of you.
Yeah, I mean, that was like that's the moment that actors live for. To work with another actor where something organically comes out that wasn't on the page because you're connecting in this way, and first scenes with Tony, actually. And he was tearing up, and I was tearing up, and it was really a beautiful, I mean, I hate my eyebrow. Way before I knew about Botox, but it drives me nuts. But I was so happy to have, you know what I'm talking about.
I have no idea.
My eyebrows like up here, my hairline. I love Tony. You know, we were in New Orleans for the third one, and this was the second one we were doing the exterior stuff. And Tony was like my date for restaurants. So I was like, want to try this, and try that, and try new things. And then I would go home, and he would go, you know, to the strip clubs. And then and I was just Tony, you know, enjoy his life, and would roll in and fucking kill it, and just do an amazing job. And it was just a pleasure and a joy to work with. And he is very much missed by all of us.
So let's jump back to the beginning, just in the creation of this character. I mean, I'm sure every horror filmmaker would love to create a character like something for the ages, like an extreme killer for the ages, and that you can build a franchise that's long. But was that the intent, or did you just have this like one good idea that for one movie, and that was like what was the thinking?
So I had come up with the character when I was 8 years old, which maybe it shows, but I was at summer camp and the counselors told us, stay away from this cabin or Hatchet Face will get you, and that was it. There was nothing else to their story. They were the most uncreative counselors, and I was already into the shit, and so that night when we were going to sleep, the other kids in my bunk, this is night one, are like, do you think Hatchet Face will get us? And I'm like, you know what they call him, Hatchet Face. And the story that you've seen in the movies, I was 8 years old, and that's what I came up with. And they start crying, and the counselors called my parents to say, like, I don't think he's fitting in. Like, I think my mom's response was, yeah, he does that. But when I wrote it, the original draft was called Victor Crowley, and then the name changed to Hatchet, and the script went all over town, because I was repped at like one of the biggest agencies at that point, and I got a lot of work off of it, like writing other things, but nobody wanted to touch it, because they're like, they were like, you either need to tone down the gore or get rid of the comedy, but it's too weird that the characters are so funny, but your killer is so brutal, and I'm like, yeah? And you gotta remember though, at the time, this was 2004 when the script went around, everything was torture porn, horror had become very mean-spirited in the wake of 9/11, and I'm like, when I grew up on this stuff, we had these awesome killers. We had Jason, we had Freddy, we had Michael Myers, like, where did it go? And they're like, slashers are dead, nobody wants it anymore, and horror comedy is too hard to market. So there was a very famous rejection from a studio that I can't name because Universal would be very mad.
Yeah, don't mention it.
That said, the writing is great and we'd love to talk to you about other projects, but this movie will not get made because it's not a remake, it's not a sequel, and it's not based on a Japanese one, which, for those who remember, I turned into the fucking tagline for the movie, because I'm like, that's exactly why this needs to be made. So we raised the money independently, but when I first met with Kane, I'm like, there's gonna be 3 of them. And same reaction as Tony, he's like, really?
Yeah, you know how many times I've heard that. There's gonna be 3 of these. Oh, okay, good. All right, let's hear what you have to say.
Yeah, and even in the first one, if you go back, you'll see weapons he uses in the second one that we show in the first one. Like, I had this thing so mapped out to be a trilogy and end on the third one. The biggest mistake that I made, though, in casting was John Buechler, who was Robert's boss when we made the first one. He was one of the first people on board. He's the one who suggested I'm going out to the set of Devil's Rejects today. Kane is coordinating. Do you want me to show this to him? And I'm like, yes? And I'm in my wildest dreams, I never would have thought. And then I get on the phone with Kane. We agreed to meet. The producers were coming with me, and I'm gathering up. I'm one of you, man. I'm gathering up all my Jason shit. I'm like, I'm gonna have him sign this and sign this. And the producers are like pulling it out of my hands, like, no, don't do it. You're professional right now. Like, but he really connected, and especially you were the one who brought up playing Thomas Crow. You suggested it, and I'm like, holy shit, that would be amazing. And to just jump ahead for a second, when the movie played at Fantastic Fest and Kane won Best Actor, and it was like, because you got to remember at the time, I'm sorry for airing all this, but at the time, Freddy vs. Jason had just gotten made. There was no clear reason why we didn't get Kane as Jason, and like, I think you were at a point where you were like, all right, well maybe that was my run. And then I come around with this thing and I'm like, this would be yours from the ground up. And thankfully he took a gamble on me, because who the fuck was I? Like, I could have messed this whole thing up. Some people think I did, messed this whole thing up. But then, thanks to John Buechler, Tony Todd gets on board. Robert Englund gets on board. Then I end up with Josh Leonard from Blair Witch Project, Mercedes McNabb from Buffy. The last part that we had to cast was Mary Beth.
And he didn't cast me.
Danielle comes in, kills it, but I was scared because of the comedy. I'm like, if every horror legend is in this movie, are people gonna think it's a spoof? And so I went with an unknown named Tamara Feldman, who did great. But then when it came time for the sequel, Tamara just had a bad agent who was like, the budget of the sequel was $800,000. And the agent wanted 1.5 million for her. And we're just laughing. We're like, there's no fucking way. First of all, no one knows who this is. What are you doing? But he thought they can't make the sequel without you. And so I'm like, man, do I scrap the whole thing that I was gonna do and change the story? Because like Mary Beth is obviously a very important character. Or do I recast her? And look, we've all seen, like, how many Tommy Jarvises were there? We're like, what the fuck? Like, and I'm like, oh man, this is gonna, wait a minute. What if I replace her with the biggest scream queen of our generation? Like, and Danielle and I had become friendly from the cons and stuff, so I had to make that call and be like, so, and she just,
Specifically where I was on that call too.
and she just listens, and then she goes, one thing, admit you were wrong. First of all, I've been married, I'm always wrong. And so I'm like, I was wrong, and she's like, I'll do it. And then also, the other big surprise for us, I think it was like third to last character, was the casting director was like, what about Joel Murray for the pornographer? And I'm like, can we even get him? I'm like One Crazy Summer, like Scrooge, like what, seriously? And she's like, you could try. And he brought this whole thing to that character that was so charming.
A whole different kind of creepy.
But the whole cast in the first day is like, that's Joel Murray. I know, right? And he was so fucking funny because he's a comedian. He knows how to be funny without overdoing it, without being big about it, And some of the lines that I didn't even realize were so funny that came out of Shapiro's mouth became so funny. And after you were dead and rapped, everyone just kept repeating all of his lines on the set. And we didn't know, as you guys know, that he was gonna be here till yesterday. And I'm so fucking happy you're here. I'm so happy you're here. This is so...
I'm so happy to be here. I'm a Chicagoan. I grew up in Wilmette, and this has been really a fun time. And I'm across from Kane. I'm next to him, and the overflow is really good. I gotta say. But I didn't get to meet Tony Todd. I was the people that were just stuck in the rain for a month straight at Sable Ranch, and we shot from sundown to sunup every night. And every time we're about to shoot, the costumers would come over and spray you down with cold water, because warm water would
Cost
there would
money.
be steam, and it would cost money. And then the sequel came, and I got the call from Adam, and I thought, well, here comes the big money. No, uncredited, unpaid for the second one. But it's good to be here.
So if anyone has ever been to LA, the traffic is atrocious. Most people know that. And because we were where we were shooting on this ranch, Sable Ranch, and because we were shooting nights, anyone who didn't choose to stay up there would sit in 2 hours of traffic there and then 2 hours trying to get home in the morning. So if you've ever seen the behind the scenes, the making of, someone was walking around the camera saying, "What's your best memory? What's your best memory?" When it gets to Joel, his best memory, he says, "Oh, that one time the traffic opened up on the 405. That was his answer.
The real horror for me was that I was actually coaching Little League at the same time. So I was coaching baseball games at like 3 p.m, delirious. I mean, just out of my head on like 3 hours of sleep, and knowing, well, we got to win this in this inning because I got to be on the road in 7 minutes. And we may have thrown some games.
You brought up a few things I want to follow up on. Danielle, so you're brought in to play a character that's been established by a different actor. How much do you pay attention to how she played it, and how much do you just want to make it your own right away?
Like someone says, is it uh-oh?
Uh-oh.
I mean, I'm a better actress than she is.
More humble, too.
I would have never asked for that much money. I work for you for nothing.
Many times.
A lot of us did.
Yeah, we all did.
It's not my fault. I'm not the money person.
You know, I wanted to do it so badly, and I did it, and it was all good. And then, but it was my first opportunity to be cast as a lead again. I mean, I hadn't been given a lead role in a horror movie since Halloween 5. So it was my first, because of Adam, I was able to come back and like show everybody what I can still do and realize the love was still there. And I was incredibly grateful for that opportunity. I love the character, and you know, it was a little bit difficult jumping right into the water, literally. Normally in movies you have like a good week or two to kind of build up to where you need to be emotionally and throughout the story, and because she'd already done all of that work, I had to sort of come in right at the height of the story and then go from there. But I mean, I think you guys are so gracious and wonderful to me that I was accepted, and nobody was like, oh, I can't believe they replaced her with Danielle. So I was happy to be a part of it, and obviously, and I love that, and Kane and everybody involved, so I'm happy to be a part of this forever.
I don't think people understand though, like she literally had to start the movie with Victor Crowley's hand on her neck screaming at the top of her lungs and never really come down from that. And so that's so hard to do, and you just killed it and owned it and did it was just awesome. Cause like the Mary Beth character, I don't know, I was just kind of sick of the final girl who's like the damsel in distress, but then somehow in the last minute finds this courage. And Mary Beth is just a badass. And then another thing that this is gonna seem like out of left field, but so at one point we're on a panel, I don't remember the convention, and somebody in the audience had said how much they appreciate having a gay character as the lead. I'm like, thank you, yeah. And Danielle goes, Mary Beth's gay? I'm like, yeah, we had that. Oh wait, no, I had that conversation with Tamara. Yeah, by the way, she's gay. But my whole thing was, when you watch a movie, every character doesn't have to identify themselves as straight, right? So why do gay characters have to do that? But she just married Beth as like, and so I loved that amongst the gay community, they recognize that. But it was just funny that you and I never had the conversation.
I just thought I didn't like Colton on the boat. I just thought it was him that was like, good chicken and waffles and whatever he was doing.
Chicken and biscuits. That was an ad lib, by the way. He was supposed to be singing "This Land Is Your Land," and then typical Hatchet fashion, we're out in the swamp, no cell phone reception. This is 2009 when we shot it, and someone goes, "Do we have clearance to sing 'This Land Is Your Land'?" Oh fuck! I'm like, "Well, it's a traditional song, right?" Oh fuck! So we had him sing it, and then I'm like, "Colton, can you just make something up?" And he's an improv comedian, and he just busted out that chicken and biscuit song, which became everyone's favorite joke in the movie. And every con, when someone's like, "How'd you come up with that?" I'm like, "That's the one thing I didn't come up with."
So you mentioned at the time, like Paula was in a very specific place, and it wasn't really in a place where there was a character like Victor killing people. It was like the list that you gave us before. But, and I know you grew up on that stuff and love that stuff, but how did you want to make this also different than that? Like, be in that kind of place where you could create a single killing machine, but also, and then Kane, same question to you, like playing a character like that, how did you want to make him different than maybe even some of the people that you have played before that were in a similar vein?
There's 3 easy things. One was I wanted somebody who looked like something and who had a weapon that you couldn't easily cosplay as. And some people say, "Oh, well, that was a mistake," because you'd see more Victor Crowleys walking around at cons if it was easy to do. But like one of the things I really loved about Freddy was until the last like 25 years, it always looked like shit when you saw somebody trying to cosplay as him. Like it was to the movie. And like even with the weapon, this is an axe blade, but on a hatchet handle. They don't really sell these. There's somebody here this weekend who like found one that someone made. There you go. And I just keep grabbing it every time I see him, like, "Oh man, this is so cool." But it was also, I think the best monsters, and this is going back to Frankenstein's monster, there has to be a sympathetic angle for the audience to really get behind them. And Victor Crowley didn't do anything wrong. His father cheated, made a mistake, he got this curse. He just wants his father, because that's the only love he's ever known. He doesn't know he's dead. He comes back every night and has to do this. But I also think whenever I meet somebody who's like, "I have this great idea for a werewolf movie, but there's so many werewolf movies." Yeah, but what's your werewolf movie? I didn't invent slasher movies. I celebrated the tropes, but I added my voice, which is my sense of humor. And I'm like, what if there was one of these 80s movies where we weren't just bored as shit waiting for somebody to get killed? Like, what if the characters entertained you? What if they were fun? Like, you gotta keep the comedy out from your killer. I think if the killer starts making jokes or doing like, sure, we laugh at how gory it is because that's what we love, but there's some people who, like my first agent was so scared by the first Hatchet, and I'm like, scared? It's awesome, man. It's funny. Didn't think it was funny. Thought the characters were funny, but so there's a sense of humor through all of it, but not with Victor Crowley. And one of my favorite moments, which I'm sure you've heard other actors tell this, but it's hard to perform through makeup or behind a mask. But in 3, when Mary Beth presents the ashes of his father, and that's the moment he realizes his father's gone and he's not supposed to be here, and it's the only time he speaks on screen, just that, "Daddy." Kane did such a perfect job with that, and it's so hard to do under that makeup, but like the fact that you can see his real eyes, the makeup could move with him thanks to Robert and his crew. It was just perfect. But yeah, that for me, that was why I wanted to see this movie happen. It celebrated everything I loved, but in my way. And you never know, is it going to connect with people? Are people going to like it? Or you don't know. And like, thankfully, it worked.
Kane, what about just playing a character in a way that was maybe different than what you had done before? What were you? What were some things you did?
I mean, just some subtle things that I thought we could add. Anytime I played Jason, obviously I never ran. I didn't think it worked as the character. I still, even it's ridiculous that Jason catches everyone when they're sprinting and he's lumbering, but I always say it's just shortcuts. I know the woods. But I thought, again, here's a character that doesn't really speak at all. What could we do to make it a little different so that people don't just see Jason in the performance? And I thought, you know, I don't have a problem with Victor running a little bit as long as he runs in a weird way. And, you know, you can't see him sprinting after someone, but if he's, you know, kind of limping almost and lumbering, I think it would work. And I think it was great for the character, and to make him a little more unbeatable, I guess, or something. You know, if he catches you, you're fucking dead. And in various ways, thanks to Adam's weird sense of violence. Some of the kills in the Hatchet movies are just so over the top that people cheer in the audience when I'm doing something horribly violent to someone like Felicia Rose. You know, you kill someone in that manner, it's so beyond over the top that you end up cheering. And that's kind of fucked up. But the audience loved it, and you know, for Adam to be able to make a scary horror film that incorporates big laughter moments is so incredibly difficult. And you know, I guess maybe it was a little easier to make sure all the comedy was when my character wasn't around. Then everybody's laughing and joking and having fun, and then I show up and it's like, oh, not funny anymore. And you know, it's a tough thing to do, and there's very rare cases, in my opinion, where somebody pulled that off, but obviously Adam did it.
It's a perfect segue actually into talking about how people are cheering during the most violent moments. I think they're celebrating the artistry of Robert a lot of times. I love the way that makeup affects people out here. It doesn't happen every year, but I love it because that's how I got into horror films was makeup. That just being blown away that how to make something look that real, or even in some cases look like surreal. But I'm wondering, actually I saw on your table you have the baby Victor head, like and I'm looking, I'm like, that is foul. Like that is just like a massive. How did you, I mean, did you just take grown-up Victor and kind of smush him down a little, or how did you come up with that baby head? I know you guys are going to ask about specific kills, and we'll get to you guys. I'll let you guys do that, but I want to know about the baby.
I think at the time we went to like Toys R Us and bought like a baby doll.
Wait, is that on? What was that? Oh, can you hear?
I had to do this yesterday. I'm a pro at it.
Oh, good.
There we go.
There's a little switch.
It's just a switch.
I think at the time we went to Toys R Us and bought like a baby doll, like, you know, one of those ones that burps or whatever, and we just sculpted the Victor Crowley face on this little baby doll and molded the whole thing, and we're like, okay, well, we need to make this out of silicone, so it's like this rubbery baby thing, and then add an umbilical cord and make it slimy, like it just came out of his mother and everything like that, and then hand it to Kane so Kane can be the father.
It even has a little Victor Crowley penis.
Anatomically correct.
And it's been in the Aeroscope studio ever since we wrapped Hatchet 2, and it's so gross to hold because it feels still so slimy. What did you use for a rib cage? Because you can feel its ribs.
We put an understructure in there that was just, I forget what we did in there, but like when you're running the silicone into the mold, you do like a skin, and then you just back it with all these other pieces on there so it has like a movement to it and everything.
Like it feels like, not that I've ever held a real dead baby, but but it feels exactly like what I would imagine a dead baby feels like. Not that I imagine it. Can somebody ask another question?
One of my favorite moments of the movie was working with Robert's people. Dion and I, from the first movie, had to get plastered casts of our heads. And I don't know if you've done this before, but they cover you, they put straws in your nose, and they cover your head in plaster, and your head ends up weighing about 45 pounds. And it's about 45 minutes to cure, and about 25 minutes into it, Dion starts freaking out. Get me out of this thing! Get me out of this thing! And they rip him out of the plaster, and I'm still sitting there completely claustrophobic next to him. And as soon as they got him out, and you could see him breathe, and he calms down, and you came over and said, well, we're gonna have to do it again. Well, Joel, you're done. And so I was done at that point. And
Joel took it like a man.
Dion had to go back in. That was my favorite part of the movie.
The lesson being, don't show up to get your life cast done high.
Or just go with it when you're hot.
I feel like I have been following this thing with you since the beginning, because I remember us talking at San Diego Comic-Con, I think was the first time, and then we just kept seeing each other throughout this thing. But to that point, like the fan reaction for the first film was instantaneous and loud. Like they loved this movie from the beginning. Did that just take away any nerves that you had about going forward, about what you had done? I mean, there's always doubt, I guess, with something new, but did that just kind of, when you heard the fans just go crazy? Because you went to conventions right away with it too, if I remember, like even when you were here the first time.
Yeah, this convention was a pivotal moment. The last time I was at this convention was 19 years ago. Anytime Mike and me have asked if I could come, so the hard thing as a director is you're on each thing for like 18 months, and you have to agree to do a convention appearance almost sometimes 8 months, a year in advance. And it never worked out. This time, because I'm in post on something new right now, I was able to do it. But when we showed, because I was like, I'm not gonna hide anything at these conventions. No one knew who I was, no one knew what Hatchet was. I'm like, I'm gonna just show what we have. So for anyone who remembers that 2006 convention, I showed the jaw rip, and the audience went so crazy we had to show it again. And that's when at least I felt like, well, my friends get this, but you never know, is this gonna translate, and is it gonna carry on? And there's a hard moment with movies like this, because first you do film festivals, and the people that go to like Fantastic Fest or Fright Fest, whichever festival, they're like hardcore, and they're so excited to see a new horror movie. And you're getting these amazing responses and reviews. Then it comes out to the public, and the local newspaper sends whoever to a 10 a.m. screening with 2 people in it to review it, and they fucking hate it. And all of a sudden you're just like reading the equivalent of worst movie ever, not funny, no one's gonna like this, and you're like, oh man. But you know, anytime you're writing exterior Honey Island Swamp Night, you're not getting an Oscar. Like, it's just, no. But that's not why we do this for us, like people like you who will get it and appreciate it and then let the rest of the world say it's sick or it's whatever. It wasn't for them. And so the fact that this caught on enough that we got to make a sequel, and then another one, and another, now that there's action figures and Halloween masks. But the beauty of the story of Hatchet, though, is Anchor Bay put out the first one. They had tried a few theaters with Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. The fucking movie's amazing. And then they're like, I went with them over the Weinstein Company because they said, we're gonna put this in theaters. However, there were no movie posters in most of the theaters. It wasn't on the marquee. No one knew it was there. And so we were on 100 screens, and after that first night or two, just like that, nobody knew. And so the fact that it caught on through the conventions, through people, and it kept going. And then as you guys know, with Hatchet 2, I was like, because Hatchet 1 was so censored in theaters, all the best stuff was taken out of it. The MPAA fight, if I got into that story, would take up the rest of the panel, so I won't. But with Hatchet 2, I'm like, can we just go back then straight to video so I don't have to censor anything? And they were like, sure. And so we made the movie we wanted to make, and we even put stuff in it knowing the MPAA would just get angry and come at me. Like the chainsaw through two dudes at the same time, and you see the balls coming down. We didn't want the balls in there. We were just like, this'll get them, man. We'll be so mad. And then we'll just take the balls out and be like, better. And so all of a sudden, someone from Dark Sky is like, we have really good news. We're gonna put this in theaters. And I was like, oh, fuck. Normally you're like, yay, theaters. And they're like, AMC is starting a new program called AMC Independent, and they're gonna play this movie unrated, first time since Dawn of the Dead, that a movie's gonna be in major multiplexes. And after what I went through with the MPAA on the first one, like I went to a trial with them, like I fought them every way I could and lost. And so I was like, this is validation, and the whole thing, if you've seen the trailer for Hatchet 2, unrated, gore, like you've never seen before, buckets and buckets of blood. And I was like, this is great. And then all of a sudden, 3 days before the release, we get a call saying, do not talk about the rating ever again. Tell the cast if they're doing press, they can't talk about it. I'm like, what's happening? And they're like, it's fine, but don't talk about it. Now, when you do press, interviewers bank the interviews months in advance. Thank you. I had done an interview with Clark Collis at Entertainment Weekly all about the rating. That was the ad campaign. That was the poster, unrated. This is 2010. And so in the interview, that's what I talked about. But that was a month before they said stop talking about it. So the day before Hatchet 2 comes out in theaters, Entertainment Weekly runs this story. The photo is me with duct tape over my mouth and a Hatchet Army shirt, and the headline is Adam Green says the MPAA is evil. And I'm like, did I do that? And so the movie opened and was pulled from all theaters in 24 hours. Every screen, it disappeared. I met someone this weekend who was in the theater, and they were told, hey, we're giving you all a refund, no movie. And it was the most devastating thing. They still got me on the sequel. So I want to give a shout out to my friends in the Terrifier series, that when the sequel for Terrifier came out, and you got to remember, that was no overnight success. You know, like Art the Clown had been in All Hallows Eve, Terrifier 1 had come out, didn't make that much noise, but they kept going, and they kept coming to conventions, and David was in that makeup, and everyone knew that face. And then the sequel comes out, tail end of the pandemic, theaters are just opening again, there weren't really many movies there, and they're like, you can have it unrated. And they did it, and it fucking worked. Somebody finally broke through, and now we got Toxic Avenger coming out unrated, we've got all this stuff, so like we're finally having our moment. We were just 12 years too soon, but we tried. But that was one of the most devastating moments in this whole series, to be right there, and then they fucking pulled it, and that sucked. But for everyone who went and supported Terrifier, on behalf of all of us, thank you.
Hatchet 5, where is it?
Yeah.
Okay, everyone ready? Roll it. Oh, we don't have it? Oh shit. Okay, the short version of the story, because if I get into it, there'll probably be like a riot over the politics of it. But basically, we just need a better scenario. That's the easy way to say it. It's not about personal money. It's nothing like that. But we need a new home. That's just the most polite and easy way to say it. But we're very close. So there's been places circulating all the time, but enough time has to pass for the rights, and we're almost there. I'd love to do another one. Danielle would love to do another. Joel's fucking dead. But,
I think we could get a twin for him or something on this one.
yeah, we'd all love to do it. There was a very thought out idea before we did 4. That was why Mary Beth, because so the end of 3, it kind of gives the illusion Mary Beth died, but then we come back for one last gasp. And I was like, all right, if this is the last one, Mary Beth did live. And then online, you guys are like, Victor Crowley jumped into her body at the end. And I'm like, no. So when we did the 4th one, I wanted to kind of start over again and not just have the same exact setting, which is thus the airplane and all that stuff. But then at the end, to show Mary Beth's still alive, knowing what we were going to do in the next one. And the 4th one was a huge hit, and that was crazy because we did it in secret. We surprised everybody with it. But we would love to do a 5th one, but everyone's busy. Danielle just directed a movie, by the way, co-directed a movie with Scott. Everyone's busy doing other stuff, but we would love to do it. But I think the beauty of these movies is we didn't just keep doing one year after year because it was working. It was always, everyone goes off, does other stuff, we come back together when we really, really want to do it, and I think it shows in the movies. Everybody is so into it, and so, yes, we would love to do a 5th one. It's just kind of a little bit of a waiting game, but it feels like we're getting close, so.
I'm ready.
All we want is hope. That's all. We just want hope.
There's hope.
Okay. All right, go for it.
This question is for Adam. Adam, what's fisting?
For anyone who wasn't at the panel yesterday, Kane, you remember this. The Impractical Jokers, second cruise, there was this little kid on the boat. This sounds awful. There's a payout, trust me. When I got on the boat, this little kid comes up to me and he goes, I know who you are. You're Adam Green. You're the movie director. And I lean down and I'm like, yeah, that's me. And he goes, not a fan. Instantly my favorite person on the boat. And we showed Victor Crowley and the scene where Felissa gets her arm ripped off and shoved up through her and out her mouth. And so one of the first questions from the audience was, how the fuck did you do that? And we explained it, and I'm like, oh, we call that kill the ultimate fisting. And there's a baby in here?
You won't remember. Too late.
This is so awkward. So the little kid, I see him come up to the microphone, and he goes, what's fisting? And Kane and Brian Quinn just turn around and leave me there. And there was almost 800 people in that theater. And I said, well, sometimes when a man really loves a woman or is angry with her, and then thankfully they cut me off. But thank you for the callback.
All right, go ahead.
Hello. I wanted to ask Danielle, out of all the Halloween franchises, that includes the 20th century and the 2000s, and the 21st century, which one was the scariest and the most fun to work on?
Ooh, most fun was probably Halloween 4, being my first. Scariest Halloween 5, because they almost killed me multiple times. It was the 80s, man. I did all my own shit, you know? I watch that movie now and I'm like, God, Loomis was horrible to Jamie. Horrible on the stairs, using me as a human child shield? What the fuck? That's nuts. That's crazy. The roof and the laundry chute and the no harnesses ever and real knives and it's crazy.
One of my favorite Danielle stories, though, like anybody else in their 50s in here, I wouldn't know what that's like. I'm only 26, but like I was Jamie Lloyd's age when Halloween 4 came out, and it was so cool to see someone our age in a Halloween movie. And it was just like, oh man, this is amazing. So you meet her later on in life and it's just like, oh man, I grew up with you. It was so cool. Like, what was that like? But then there's guys who will come up to her table and they'll be like, oh man, I had such a crush on you in Halloween 4. And they're 70. Just saying.
How's it going, guys? Not so much a question. I just wanted to come up and say thank you for everything you've done over the years. My twin brother, Ethan, got me into these movies in high school when it came out. I remember going to Blockbuster, and he's like, you gotta check this shit out. They rip someone's head open Mortal Kombat style. And it's been awesome ever since. And not to be a bummer, but he passed away from cancer 10 years ago.
So sorry.
And I'm still, coming out representing twice as hard for him as well. So I just want to say I appreciate you guys and everything you do, and thank you so much for giving me something to keep him alive with all these years. Thank you, guys.
And you said his name was Ethan? So a little bit of history, not regarding the Hatchet films, but with the Friday franchise, when we shot part 7, and John Beekler is the reason I played Jason in part 7, and fortunately continued, but with the script from Friday the 13th part 7 and part 8, Paramount was trying to keep it secret that we were doing a Friday movie. So our script, everyone that had a script, including cast, crew, everyone, the movie was not called Friday the 13th on the script. It was, part 7 was called Birthday Bash, and part 8 was Ashes to Ashes for some reason. That was the name of the script. And the killer within the script was named Ethan, which I thought was kind of cool. And I said, where did they get that from? And supposedly, I think I talked to Sean Cunningham about this once, but supposedly Jason had a brother named Ethan way back. It was never explored, but that was the history of the character. And, it was kind of cool I wish I still had my original script, because I think it'd be quite valuable considering it wasn't called Friday the 13th. And one other thing I just wanted to tell quickly, sorry to take too much time, along with Adam and his fisting child, I was doing a convention in Louisiana a couple years ago, and there was a little kid walking around wearing a costume, and he was 4 years old. And this is one of my favorite things that's ever happened at a convention. He had a costume where he had a chainsaw in his head. Kind of a unique costume. And he came over to the table, and I looked at him and said, do you know you have a chainsaw in your head? And remember, 4 years old. He looks at me and said, it's a fucking costume. I could not believe it. I swear it's true. So I loved the kid. I took a picture, it's on my phone, of him and I flipping each other off in the photo because it was so amazing. His response just caught me off guard. Anyway, sorry.
Yes.
Okay, so just two quick things. Danielle, you were literally one of my favorite final girls, like up there top 5 with like Sydney and Lori and stuff. So thank you for being amazing in the
Thank
Hatchet
you.
movies. And then for Kane, I wanted to ask what your favorite Jason kill was, and then what your favorite Victor kill was.
Well, that is fairly easy for me to answer. Favorite kill of all time happens to be a Victor Crowley kill, and it is the ripping her head apart by her jaw. It was a one-take deal. Adam could explain it more, but it is my favorite kill I've ever done, and I still think there's not another actor in history that has murdered more people on film than I have. And that is the very top of the list. Short, right behind that is Sleeping Bag from Part 2. If you can kill someone with something that is supposed to provide comfort, as opposed to a weapon, that's pretty creative. So those are the top two, with Mrs. Permadio being number 1.
Thank you.
Hi, sorry, a little bit nervous. This does involve maybe Adam, Kane, and Robert. What was the main inspiration in designing Victor Crowley's look? Like, I mean, I see a lot of inspiration from like Hills of Eyes maybe or something like that, but I'm not sure if there's like any main inspiration in the design.
It was mainly the Elephant Man.
There you go, yeah.
And it was an incredible day because to raise the money for the movie, we made a mock trailer, which ended up basically being the trailer for the movie, where we didn't have any money yet. So we had this little girl, Eleanor, read the story. Eleanor's like 30 now. Read the story of Victor Crowley. And so our producer, Sarah Elbert, would say each line, Eleanor would repeat it. And we went on a swamp tour in New Orleans, an alligator tour, and just hung off the side with a camera moving across the swamp, and all you hear is the little girl telling the story. But I wanted some quick flashes of young Victor Crowley, like medical photos.
Yeah.
So John Carl Beekler, who was a really great artist, it was like doing a sketch artist where I described it and he sat there drawing where I couldn't see it. And I'm describing the lumps on his head, and this was before the hatchet wound. And when he turned it around, it was exactly what I had always saw as a kid. And he goes, it kind of looks like Merrick, like the Elephant Man. And I was like, yes, because I wanted him to have like a real affliction. I wanted it to be like a sad story that somebody, had to deal with this and was kept hidden. Not in the beginning, you think it's because other kids were mean to him, but then you learn the father was trying to hide his infidelity and this curse that he brought upon himself. But Victor Crowley didn't do anything wrong. Like his dad did something wrong, and he was paying for it. But anyway, but really, it was the Elephant Man was the main kind of source of inspiration.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Y'all are great.
You're great.
Yeah. I just want to thank all of you for being here this weekend. My question is for Danielle and Adam. Adam, what was it like crafting this franchise? Like, did you already have an endpoint in mind? And Danielle, what was it like joining such a historic franchise in Halloween and Hatchet? And did you have a favorite scene in the film?
I originally thought the Hatchet was going to be 3 movies. When we finished the third, it was like, okay, we're done here. But then, like, life just has a way of changing everything. So the third one came out in 2013. At the time, I was digging up the marrow. I was doing Holliston. I was too busy with other stuff. And then Dave Brocky, who was odorous on Holliston and in Guar, obviously, He was one of my closer friends. He suddenly passed away, and then 8 days later, FearNet, where Holliston aired, was dissolved in a corporate merger. Holliston was the reason I went to Hollywood, was to make that show. It took 13 years. It was set up at various networks, but they would always say, not the guy from Twisted Sister, we can get somebody big. Not, what the fuck is Guar? What the fuck, like, it just couldn't. And then finally it had happened, and that show was the greatest time of my life. It just every day, just laughing like that. And then my wife leaves me. So this was all within 12 days. And so my whole life went to shit. And I'd love to say I handled it well. I did. I think if it had been one tragedy, I would have dealt with it. But I just like, I can't even describe it, like the depression that I went into. I hid in my office for a long time, like years. I couldn't write, I couldn't eat. I got down, like, normally I weigh about like 180 pounds. I was down to 137. Like, I was dying, and nothing could get me to leave my office. And you never want to, when you're the one who tries to inspire people, you feel like such a fraud that you can't handle something. And all of a sudden I get a call, oh, George Romero would like you to host his panel at Rock and Shock back in Boston. And there's no way you're saying no to that. And I knew George, but we weren't like best friends. So I'm like, okay, I'll be there. And I went, and I was able to pull it off. But at the end of his panel, and there's photos of this that you can see that are online, and 800 witnesses who were in the room. At the end of the panel, he gets this big standing ovation, and he puts his arm around me, and he goes, I know you're going through some shit, but you gotta get back on your feet. And he goes, look at this crowd. He's like, Hatchet shirt, Holliston shirt. And he's like, what are you doing? And there's a photo of him with his arm around me. I'm crying, like that someone got from the back of the room on a telephoto lens. And thankfully that fan came up to me the next day. He's like, I don't know what was being said here, but he had printed out the picture. He's like, I think you would want this. But he goes, where's the next Crowley picture? Because like when you're George's age, movies are pictures. And he goes, where's the next Crowley picture? And I was like, I'm done with that. And I'm no. And he's like, it's not over until they say it's over. Yeah. And he's like, remember that. It was a short thing, but it changed everything. And I got back from Boston, and then I'm at my computer, exterior, hunting down the swamp, this is what, and then when I sent the script around to Robert and Sarah, and then I'm like, I think we're gonna do another Hatchet movie, but it's gonna be a surprise. And their honest first reaction from everybody involved but Kane was, why the fuck are we doing this? Kane was like, fuck yeah, we're doing this.
Amazing.
But my thing was the 10th anniversary is going to be coming up at that time in 2 years. We'll keep this a secret. We'll do a 10th anniversary screening and surprise everyone. And then I'll go on tour for 54 nights throughout the United States showing it, where you can only see it in theaters. And we never, like, someone would leak it, right? Someone on the crew would talk about it or take it. Nobody did. And so when we did that 10th anniversary screening and surprised everybody, and then that's how everyone found out there's a new Hatchet movie, and then it was just throughout the, like, it was amazing. So it was supposed to end at 3, and then 4 brought it back, but it's all thanks to George Romero, who, you know, you have friends, you have family who, when you're going, everyone in here has gone through shit, who tell you it's gonna get better. You can't hear it. But when the guy who basically invented independent cinema tells you, you can get back up on your feet, and like, you have to now. It just, yep. So the fact that Hatchet is still a thing, I have to thank George Romero for that.
That's amazing, man.
Oh, my favorite scene? The end of Hatchet 2. Like, there's no better ending, better lines. I mean, you guys all know I write "fuck you" on everything. Just that pause of taking a beat and leaving the shot and come back with that giant gun and just blowing his head off is like my favorite. But Adam always writes the best lines for me, the best endings. He promised if we do another one, I will not be handcuffed the entire movie. Because that was it. Handcuffed, holding an urn. Kill me. In the swamps, covered in blood with fucking chiggers everywhere, and oh my god, all over my rear end, and oh, it was awful.
I did give her her revenge on me, which don't go anywhere because when the panel's done, we're going to show you something where she got to beat the shit out of me back, and you'll see in a second.
All right, last question behind you? Or is there somebody behind you? No, you're the last one. Okay.
Must be me. Hi. I
Freddie
just want to say I love
sucks.
all of you and I respect all of you. Yes, I know. Hi. Freddie outfit and talking to my Jason, but it's fine. Kane Hodder, I love you. Danielle, I respect you so much for throughout your whole career and like breaking out and being able to just get into adult acting, whatever you want to call it, and just continuing on. Adam, I appreciate your being so candid about everything. We spoke yesterday as well, and you've just been so great. What I want to ask is just getting Robert England on board just to be for the boat in the very beginning for Hatchet 1. Like, was that very difficult at all, or was he very like open, like receptive to just doing that?
I think it was because when we made that call, the producers were the one who made the call. I suggested it, but it just seemed like, because remember, like we didn't really have much money, but I think it was because Kane was playing Victor Crowley, Tony Todd was going to be in it, Beekler was doing it. He read it and took it very seriously. Even though like we didn't have all the money in the world, it was only going to be a night and a half for him. But if you ever see the behind the scenes of Hatchet 1, they actually caught that phone call when he called to talk to me about the part, and I am fucking fanboying the fuck out. Like I don't know where I am. I still do though.
Oh, yeah.
Like, but it doesn't matter how long I've known everyone. Like I'm such a fan. First.
I have been covered in blood so many times. Like Adam has been behind the monitor, like cheering and geeking out, and we're like, dude, I'm dying right now. He's so covered in. He's like, oh my god, it's so good, it's so good.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
Amazing, yes. And I love your inspiration from George Romero as well. I think that's very important for you and for these movies and the franchise. Like I think, it's just great.
I'm not just saying this because it's the end of the panel, but it always sounds like lip service, but I can't stress it enough. Without you, without conventions, like none of this would exist. Like the fact that 20 years later we're sitting here still talking about this, you have no idea what it means. And after these last 5-6 years going through the fucking pandemic and lockdown, and like, are we ever gonna get to see each other again? Are we ever, like, the world is a good place despite what you see on TV, and don't ever forget that because we have this. And everybody's awesome, and the love I have for every one of you, you have no idea. No, I can never put it into words. So thank you.
Thank you so much. You're amazing.
We begin with tears and we end with tears. All right.
Wait, but we're gonna end with laughs.
We have one more thing, yeah.
So, when we get the chance, when we do a panel where Kane and Danielle and I are on the same panel, only because I know there's always some people out there who never even heard of Holliston or saw it. There was one scene we did in season 2. You don't have to have ever seen the show to get how funny this is, but just the quick setup. My character is